I love that because I'm sure it means a lot different things to a lot of other people. But don't change much. When I sat and I thought about it, to me, it was important because when I played back in the NHL and in the minors and all that, part of the reason that there was a stigma on everything is because people thought that they would go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist and they would come out a completely different person. Well, what's that going to do to my game, right? Well, is that going to make me a better or worse player? It's going to, it's like some mind voodoo they used to think it was. When you get mental health therapy, you're not going to change much in the sense of your personality. You are going to be who you are, but you're going to be a better person. You don't need to change much by going to therapy, or the only thing you're going to change is you're going to become better. I was a better goalie after I went to get help than I was before because I couldn't train properly. I couldn't eat properly. I didn't sleep properly. And that's what people need to know. You're going to be better for everybody around you, your friends, your family, your kids. You're going to be able to be a better dad, a better husband, better, worker.
Hi there, it's Dan Murphy. You're listening to the Don't Change Much podcast, brought to you by the Canadian Men's Health Foundation. Now imagine being poised to make the step to the top of your profession, only to be undone by the inner workings of your own mind. Corey Hirsch doesn't have to imagine. It happened. From all rookie NHL goalie to making an attempt on his own life.
Well, I mean, I bet you I've spoke to over 20,000, 25,000 construction workers and people. And at the end, there's always a line of 10 to 12 people that just want to come and share their stuff. And that's another part of it is that they just want me to listen. They don't want me to solve their stuff. They just want to feel that they're not alone. So at the end of these talks, a lot of times I just did one and there's probably 20 people at the end lined up, and there's probably about 500 people at this event. But at the end, it's not about them going, well, where do I go? Or what do I do? Or what do I do? They just want to talk and they just want to feel not alone. And that's for the average person such as us, Murph. That's all we need to do. We just need to listen. I'm not qualified to help anybody or give diagnosis or medical advice, but I can lead them in the right direction and I can listen, right? That's all we need to do. You don't need to do anything special. Everybody just wants to feel heard and not alone.
I think it was 2017, you shared publicly for the first time your history with mental illness. I think it's important for people that don't know your story, just to, if you can, it's not an easy one to sum up, but just how it came about that you learned of it and how dark it was and how you finally decided to share it.
Yeah. So I was 21 years old after the Olympics, got called up with the New York Rangers for their run on the Stanley Cup. And I describe it as, so I have obsessive-compulsive disorder. So I describe it as something in my brain just kind of broke, wires disconnected, a little different than depression, anxiety, which kind of build up over time. OCD was just like, I could tell you where I was, when it happened, time, place, who I was with. And most of my friends with OCD can tell you the same thing. But, things with OCD, you're kind of a prisoner in your own brain. And we don't have time here to get into all of it, but, struggle with panic attacks, anxiety, and then the depression, it was a big cycle. But after the Rangers won the Stanley Cup, I made an attempt at my own life because, like I said, you're a prisoner in your own brain. And I didn't think there was any help or hope. So, obviously, thankfully, I'm still here. But I remember when I went through that, this is 1994. And when I went through that, I was looking for any sort of help or hope or anything. And back then, of course, we didn't have Google machine. We had to go to bookstores. I found nothing, Murph. I found nothing on any of this stuff. And I knew it was a mental health issue, but it was so discouraging. And I remember after that attempt, as awful as everything was moving forward, I said, if I ever get out of this, and I remember laying in my bed and I said to myself and God or whatever the universe you believe in, I said, I would make sure that I do something about this so that other people don't have to feel the way that I do, that they see that there's some help and hope out there, because that's what happens when someone's at the end of their, because they've lost all hope. Anyways, from there, I traded to Vancouver, all that. These are just Cole's notes. I struggled. I learned to function with OCD. So 1996, 97-ish, I still hadn't gotten help, though, because I was hiding, because it was in the NHL. I mean, you're playing with you're playing men. You're supposed to be the toughest of the tough. Heaven forbid, you showed any weakness as a goalie, they'd pipe you, right? Because the coach has a job on the line. They want to win a Stanley Cup, and you're perceived as weak. So eventually, if you don't get something fixed, it's like a broken leg. Your brain's no different than, it's still a physical piece of your body. If you don't get it fixed, you can't just walk around in life for 3 years with a broken leg and go, oh, nope, I'm good over here. And guys are like, dude, you got a broken leg. You're like, no, I'm good. And just keep going on. Eventually, things are going to go south. So same thing, second year with Vancouver, I guess the wheels fell off, but I finally reached out for help.
Being an advocate of mental health is very rewarding, but it probably also carries a bit of a burden. How has it impacted your life?
Telling my story and then getting an email or something or a text or talking to somebody after a speech, there's no win I've ever got or any game I've ever played in the National Hockey League or in the Olympics that compares to any of that. Not even remotely close. It's the greatest feeling in the world. What I have to be careful of now is that when people talk to me about their pain, it's very easily to take that on. And because there's some stories, there's heartbreaking stories. If you take that on yourself, you can get sick yourself. So, but all I do is I listen with no judgment. I don't try to solve their problems. I can be empathetic. I can be compassionate. And really, ultimately, at the end of the day, Murph, it's all about, being non-judgmental. People will come talk to you. But for me, like I say, there's been no greater gift than coming out with my story and someone saying, you know what, you helped me.
Thanks for listening. And a big thanks to everyone who already follows. If you haven't yet, click the follow button on your podcast app so you don't miss upcoming episodes and special guests. Join us every month for new episodes. And if you're new to the show, be sure to check out previous episodes with guests including John Herdman, Kelly Rudy, Trevor Linden, and more. For more helpful tips on improving your mental and physical health, visit menshealthfoundation.ca and dontchangemuch.ca.